Hey, what is going on, you guys? It is Mr. No Sleep here from Old School RuneScape, and welcome to my very first God Wars Dungeon loot video. So today I bring you guys loot from 1000 Commander Zilyana, also known as 1000 Saradomin God Wars. And for this video, we would be starting at 410 kills overall and ending at 1410 kills overall. Of course, using the Twisted Bow the whole entire time, as I did promise you guys in my previous upload. And I would say just about half of this whole entire video was soloed, and then the other half was all duoed with a total of 3 different partners. So you guys will see a little bit of both duoing and soloing throughout this video. This isn't necessarily a guide on how to kill Sarah, this is just kind of showing you guys how I go about it. And as you can tell by the gear, we did rock the full Armadillo with the Anguish and of course the Blowpipe and Twisted Bow combination. As it goes for the inventory, it really just depended on if we were doing a duo or solo trip. The very first part of the video was a little bit of duoing just to kind of get warmed up, since it had been just about 3 years since I've last been to Sarah. Luckily though, my first partner was very experienced and he pretty much told me just to stay in one corner and hit the boss 3 times, and the boss would be walking back and forth between the two of us. Therefore, it would never hit either of us and we would never take really much damage at all. And any time that we did take damage, we would bring the Guthans and we would essentially kill those minions with the Guthans to heal up to full, and then of course rely on the Blowpipe special attack to take care of anything else. And another great way of getting HP back in case you have a rough kill is of course using the Bones to Peach tabs, which I did use throughout the whole video. They truly are a lifesaver. Doesn't really matter what God Wars boss you're doing, I always recommend you bring them. Well, maybe not if you're at Zami, but you know, anywhere else they work pretty well. And a great thing about killing Sarah, you know, whether you're duoing or even soloing it, is that the supply drops themselves are so beneficial. The super restores, Saradomin brews, and all of the food that is dropped by the minions can definitely ensure that you can stay here for a long time. And another benefit was actually my partner, the very first partner that I was duoing with, was bringing an alternate account as well. And this alternate account essentially just killed all the minions while me and him would focus on the boss. And speaking of the boss, here's our very first rare drop of the video, and that would be the Rune Sword. You know, the one item that nobody wants to see in God Wars, and that was a 1 in 406 drop rate. And after every single inventory, I did my very best to keep track of all the drops. You know, most of the partners that I would go with would always make sure they picked up anything that they could from the minions or the boss. Some of them would even bring high alks, so it really just depended on who I was going with. But after every single trip, they would just trade me at Edgeville Bank and I would receive all the drops from them. So everything was accounted for in full, and it was also double checked on RuneLite with the loot tracker. And also a common drop that you can expect from Commander Zilyana is rune darts. And if you are using a blowpipe and you are actually using rune darts as ammunition, then anytime that you pick up these darts, they will go directly into your blowpipe. So I also had to use RuneLite to keep track of those as well, because they actually do add up a lot, especially towards the price check. Now this kill here was the second, I guess, noticeable drop, and that was a Rune Sword again, but this time we got an Elite Clue Scroll with it. And in the meantime, my partner was also collecting a little bit of shards from the minions, so those were adding up as well. But yeah, that was our very first elite, and certainly not the last. A lot of clue scrolls during this video. You can always expect some hard clues from the minions, and of course the elites come from the bosses, and you know, you always have potential to get a master just by doing those, so always nice to do the clue scrolls. And what you're seeing on screen here is actually my very first attempt at soloing Sarah. This was not just my first attempt with a Twisted Bow, this was my very first attempt in general, and I didn't do too bad. It was actually a lot easier than I thought. One thing that is really important for soloing Sarah is purple sweets, and I didn't start bringing those until at the very end of the video, because honestly I never used purple sweets in all the years that I played this game until now. So it's really incredible that I just learned about them, because I had no idea how useful they were. You never need to bring stamina potions if you have purple sweets, so just kind of putting that out there early on for anyone who is curious as to why I wasn't bringing them. And a lot of people who also solo Sarah do bring a serpentine helmet. I mean, there's different ways to do things, but this was just kind of my practice run, and to be fair, I wasn't doing too bad for my very first attempt, and then my partner logged back in pretty quickly, and then we just started off on the duo again, which actually led to our very first Sarah drop of the video. You know, not an uncommon rare or anything like that, but this one is a Saradomin sword, about 570k right now. Definitely went down a lot over time, but with a drop rate of 1 in 127, it is expected to see a lot of those. You know what's not expected though? To see one of those, baby! 1 in 5,000 pet Zilyana! Zilyana. That is what it's all about. We are redeeming ourselves. Loot from 100 Jad. We didn't manage to get the pet. It was such a grind, such a gamble. But this time, early on, we have been rewarded. Such an incredible drop rate. 1 in 5k. Rarer than the hilt, the crossbow, the light, the sword, all of those items combined. And yes, we finally did get another pet for the loot series. Our second God Wars dungeon pet. I was lucky enough to get the Bando's pet many years ago before this series ever started, but I will say I do like the Sarah one much more. So we did go right ahead and insure it for 500k. And yeah, this sealed the deal on me completing this video. I mean, this was very early on, and you know, I was just very surprised. So of course we had to finish now, and it really couldn't get much better than this. Not even 200 kills in. That is incredible. So at this point in the video, I did actually turn on virtual levels, a nice little feature on RuneLite. So now all my levels that are past 99 are shown as 100 plus, so that's really cool. You know, it's not really cool though, is dying by the minions. So yeah, make sure to keep your HP high, or you can be like me and die by the minions. I think I died a total of 6 times throughout the making of this video. But sometimes, you know, you have to sacrifice yourself to get that lucky RNG. And I know you're thinking, Mr. No Sleep, you just got the pet. What do you need RNG for? Well, I just want another armadillo crossbow for my bank. So there you go. We got another drop. 28.1 mil. I did actually already have an ACB in the bank, but I did sell it after I got this one, and pretty much, you know, I can say that I got my own armadillo crossbow. I gotta say, I'm really feeling like an Iron Man with this series, you know, even though it's a main account, and I just realized that I have to go get all these items on my Iron Man one day, so I'll be doing this Sarah grind again one of these days. But anyway, there it is, ACB looking real nice right alongside the pet. And a cool thing about the ACB was actually we got that during a solo, so although a lot of this video is duoed, the ACB was actually not, so I got to keep the whole entire split on that, so it was a nice amount of GP. Also managed to get me a new rune battle axe that we can add to the collection. It's a 1 in 677, so pretty strange drop from Sarah, but you know, to be fair, there's a couple strange drops here. This one being another one of them. That would be a Saradomin's light, 291k, and you know, it's another item to mark off the collection log, but it's certainly not worth that much. And there would be occasions when you do get a shard from the boss instead of the minions, and if this happens to you, then that is a 1 in 762 drop, and that I think only happened to me maybe 2 times during the making of this video. Now as it goes for the normal drop table here, a lot of people bring a rune pouch, and inside of that rune pouch they fill it up with high alks, and the reason for this is because there's so many items that you can, you know, high alk. Whether it's the adamant plate bodies, the rune kite shields, or the rune plate skirts, and of course all those other strange unique rune items that you can get here. It's always nice to save inventory space and prioritize picking up all the bones and all the loose food and potions that you can get rather than all the, you know, loose items. This way you can stay here longer, and if you don't want to bring high alks, of course you can just have another partner there, maybe bring an alternate account to hold the drops. It really just depends on your preference. Since it is a loot video, I wasn't really going with high alking. I wanted to, you know, collect as many items as I could, and honestly I didn't really have too many problems with the inventory space. It seemed to always balance out, so I didn't really have too many complaints there. You can also expect some odd potion drops, for example super defense and magic potions. The useful potion drops here would of course be the prayer, the Saradomin brews, and of course the super restores, but I suppose if you want to sip on a super defense, if you're not rocking a lot of brews, then you know, that can be a useful drop. Another nice thing about Sarah compared to, you know, things like Corporal Beast in this game, you know, you don't get crashed here. Not a single time will anyone ever crash. I mean, I didn't experience that a single time during 1000 kills. Occasionally there will be somebody who logs into your room, and this can happen for 2 different reasons. Either one, they logged out mid-trip, or number 2, they just, you know, hopped worlds, and they're doing a method where you kill the boss and then you hop to the next world to start killing the next boss. That's called being efficient, so, you know, I don't know too much about that. But anyway, we did also pick up a Sarah sword just as soon as that nice fella outside the door wished me luck, so thought that was pretty ironic. And here is a pretty scuffed clip, but this is the Saradomin Hilt. I know I barely got this on video. I swear I record every single kill as soon as Zilyana's like 15% health, and this was like one of the only kills that I was just getting comboed and I could barely click on Camtasia fast enough. But yeah, I tried to use slow motion, so I hope that assisted a little bit. Yeah, we did achieve the Saradomin Hilt. That means that we got officially the pet, the light, the sword, and shout out to 125 mil range XP, the ACB, and now the hilt. So, I mean, collection log complete, you know what I mean? This was a great feeling. And of course, that hilt was solo yet again. So even though we were consistently duoing on again and off again throughout this video, the pet was achieved in a duo, luckily with my name, and everything else so far was a solo. So maximizing the profit to the fullest extent. As you can see, we did unfortunately die there, but like, you know, before we had to avenge our death, we go right back to Sarah, and yet again a second armadillo crossbow, and it was during another solo trip. So yes indeed, that is another 27.7 mil added to the price check. And I guess Jagex was just feeling a little bit extra, so they gave me a Dragonstone to top it off, which is also 1 in 1,000. So yeah, shout out to the RNG. It was truly real at this point. 700 kills in. I was really enjoying my time here at Sarah, and in all honesty, I apologize the video took so long to get out. You gotta be honest, you know, it took me a little bit to enjoy this boss. The first 500 kills, I'm not gonna lie, kind of felt like a hassle. I know what you're thinking, you know, I got a pet, why was the motivation not high? Well, you gotta understand, clicking here is actually pretty intense, you know, it's a lot of concentration, it's a lot of prey flicking. I was actually doing this kind of the chill way. A lot of people here prey flick all of the minions, which essentially means you're switching your prayers constantly so you never take any damage. That's not necessarily what I did throughout the kill, but after the boss would die, I would start prey flicking the minions then, and that way I wouldn't really get a lot of damage. But what I'm trying to get at is that Saradomin can get boring very quickly. You kind of factor in the spawn time, you factor in the consistent clicking. It's certainly not an easy boss as it goes for, you know, concentration and just consistency. It does get tiring pretty quickly, but the mechanics here are great. It's really easy to actually kill. It's more so hard to stick with it for, you know, a certain amount of time. But there's always that one thing that keeps us coming back for more, and that is the Saradomin Hilt, baby. Another drop coming in. This is actually the last one of the video. As you can see, we just had about 35 kills left until we were completed, and we did get a hilt. Now, this was the only drop that I did split throughout this whole entire video, and it was with my good friend Albatrox. This guy stayed with me on the last 2 days of me grinding this boss. I believe it was 8 hours the first day and 9 hours the second day. We did close to 400 kills together, and I could not have done it without him, without 2 of my other friends as well, and of course me soloing for the remainder. So yeah, it was quite the journey, quite the 2 weeks. Really enjoyed this one. I don't think I'll enjoy any other God Wars dungeon boss as much as I enjoyed this one. I'd say the only downside for me is that it took me a long time to learn how to enjoy this boss, but once you get the rhythm down, it is very fun. The running, it's challenging, it's great. It's a great stepping stone into PVMing and especially prayer flicking. So invest in that twisted bow. It's only 1.2 bill, you know, I'm pretty sure we all can afford. No, I'm just kidding. You can kill Sarah with any crossbow, any bow, as long as you just watch a guide, and there will be those in the description below. With all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and price check all the drops that we got from 1000 Sarah. We also have a lot of Clue Scrolls, Hard, Elite, and Master Caskets to open. And looking at the very first price check, you can see that we ended up with 7.3 mil cash, and this was all from AUX as well as coin drops. You know, really does add up. So it's a lot of GP, a decent amount of, you know, just normal items, the rune items, a decent amount of law runes, 6.5 mil just in Renar seeds, another 1.5 in magic seeds. Also got a strange chaos talisman, that's 1 in 1600. But yeah, 27.6 mil from the very first price check. Now we move on to the second price check. This is all of the rares, and the astounding amount that comes out from this price check is 129.6 million. Now if we minus half of one of the hilts that we did split, we do get just about 111.6 mil. So if we go ahead and we add 27.6 mil in normal drops to 111.6 mil in rare drops, the overall loot from 1000 Saradomin ends up being 139.2 mil, as well as achieving the pet, multiple clue scrolls, millions of range XP, as well as a lot of HP XP. I gotta be honest with you guys, I think this is one of the best God Wars Dungeon at loot videos that I will ever do. I hope I'm wrong when I say that. Certainly, you know, it'd be nice to top this, but man, the RNG was truly on point throughout this whole entire video from start to the middle to the end, it was there the whole time. That's very rare for me to be able to say. And as we open up all these clue scrolls, I will say the cost of supplies throughout this video, the Bones to Peach tabs, the darts, the scales, the arrows, and the potions, I would say maybe because of the purple sweets and how many that I actually used towards the end, I would say maybe that the supplies cost like up to 10 mil max. Might not even be even close to that. You know, you really don't have to spend too much money to do Sarah. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching the vid. We got about 1.6 mil extra from the clue scrolls. Overall loot though, 2 hilts, 2 ACBs, 7 Sarah swords, 2 lights, and of course the pet. Doesn't get much better than that. Huge thank you to all my partners. Huge thank you to all of you guys for consistently supporting me. I know it took 2 weeks to get this done, and I know I always say I'll be uploading more, but I'm still working on it. So yeah, thank you guys so much for everything, and until next time, Mr. No Sleep, out.